Welcome to Conscious Conversations. I'm Christine Marie.
And I'm Charlie Zheng.
And this is our Soulful Dialogue series, where two soul sisters come together each month to share what's alive in our hearts and explore the beautiful messiness of being human.
Through intimate, unscripted conversations, we dive into questions both big and small around self-discovery, spiritual growth, and awakening the medicine that lives within each of us to create a more conscious and compassionate world.
We're here to bridge ancient wisdom with raw vulnerability, the sacred with the everyday. So settle in, open your heart, and welcome to the journey.
Hi, Charlie.
Hello.
Hello there. I've been talking accents lately. I don't know why. Yeah, it feels fun and exciting to be here again for our Conscious Conversations podcast. And yeah, Charlie and I were sharing right before we recorded that how vulnerable it is to like put yourself out there and to feel like you have something to share that's valuable and of receiving. That's at least how, it can land in me. And as we get started with this episode, the topic is receiving, or what I would like to call the art of receiving. And this was really actually inspired by a conversation that you and I had a couple of weeks ago, Charlie, when we went wedding dress shopping together. And you mentioned that like you got like a chiropractor adjustment and a massage and like how nourishing that was. And like also you came away with this realization that like receiving can be challenging sometimes. And I feel like that has become such a relevant topic for me to always touch into, because for being in the healing arts and being just a natural empath and compassionate person, it feels so good to give and it feels so good to provide and hold space for others. And yeah, the question that I often ask myself is like, how much is enough? And do I feel as worthy of receiving as much as I'm giving to others? And so yeah, I just wanted to like prime that topic with like that flashback from that conversation, and would love to just hear from you, Charlie. What has the practice of receiving been teaching you lately? And maybe a little bit about your history of your relationship with this topic and this you could say active being in the receiving mode.
Yeah, I feel like it's always such a relevant topic because for me lately, I've been equating receiving a lot with rest. And sometimes that's not always the case. I think sometimes receiving is about taking in nourishment, which also is very much about rest at the same time. So maybe it's really the same thing. Like when I think about receiving, it is about dropping the doing, dropping the striving, and creating that open space to take in nourishment, because it's not just about receiving anything, right? Like it's about receiving something positive and generative and something that gives energy back to me. And to the point that you're making, as healers and as wellness practitioners, we do so much giving, we strive so much, especially as entrepreneurs running our own businesses. There's a lot of efforting that we put forward and a lot of outward energy and a lot of giving energy. And I think that's great work, and it's work that is often necessary in the balance of things. But I think what often happens is we start to live disproportionately in that masculine energy. And so when I think about receiving, it is feminine, it is open, it's about letting go, shedding some of the efforting, and really taking a step back and giving ourselves that space to be nourished ourselves and recharge and rest, and also reap the satisfaction of the work that we do. I know that's something personally that I skip through a lot as a perfectionist, as someone who is very motivated by accomplishment and success and fulfillment, is that I don't often allow myself the satisfaction of a job well done. And
Mm.
often I'll kind of like look back and I'll want to critique and pick apart instead of just letting myself kind of go, yeah, I showed up to the best of my capacity and that delivered value, and can I be satisfied with that? So I also connect that to what you were saying earlier about, is this good enough? And just letting ourselves kind of be in that energy and reap the energy of being good enough, and to find satisfaction and pleasure and rest and relaxation and just a break from all of the doing. So those are the few pieces that come up immediately for me around receiving, and that I very much do equate it to rest and relaxation and nourishment and letting ourselves receive satisfaction.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's
Does that bring up?
interesting. Yeah, it's I've been in this dialogue with myself around what is yin energy and what is yang energy. Because even sometimes when it feels like I'm doing something, it feels very yin. Like when I'm playing the guitar, like I'm actively strumming the chords and I'm thinking, I'm in a process of, doing, but on a different level, it feels very yin. It's very creative. It's very like it's filling up my well, and it is this like generative energy that like feeds me, and so there's been just this self inquiry around, well, what is yin energy? What is yang energy? And where can I like integrate both maybe throughout my day? That doesn't necessarily have to mean I have to like lay on the couch for 5 hours and just like lay there and sit and like receive, nourishment by just like
Totally.
being still. Also, I was working with a client last week, and I, again, I've been in this dialogue actually since our conversation, with myself around this practice. And when I was with my client, I become a hollow bone for spirit, for my guides, for divine energy to stream through me and then out into the clients that I work with. And as that's happening, I'm also receiving really beautiful, vibrant, high vibrational energy that is also nourishing and like generative. So it is this kind of funny thing around, well, when is it that I'm really giving too much of my own life force energy to where it feels like, oh yeah, like it's almost becoming more of a depletion versus like a recharge. And I don't
Mhm.
have like the full map of this yet, but I think in every moment I'm asking myself, does this feel like it's generating life force to me in a way that's supportive, and or is my well feeling really dry, and do I need to pause and go take a bath or play the guitar, do something to feed that, to recharge my batteries, so you will. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, does any of that resonate? And
What I hear in that and what it brings up for me is that it's often a dance, and it often requires like a really, I would say, precise attunement to kind of sense
mm,
into that that overall dance between giving, receiving, masculine, feminine, and I think being conscious of the balance. And
mm,
even what you said earlier about when I play guitar, it's kind of both. I think that's also possible as well, that it's not one or the other, it's not zero sum, but that in certain instances or with certain activities, it's like there's the balance of both equally, naturally, that's already built into the activity. And when you were describing the way that you're playing music and playing guitar, like the overall felt sense that I was getting around that was you're just fully kind of getting yourself out of the way in that.
mm,
And then just allowing yourself to take in both those energies, masculine, the doing of something that you really love and that you get a lot out of, and also the receiving of the nourishment of that activity, the way that it recharges you or re-energizes you or resources you in some way. And I often think that those kinds of activities are I think what we all need more of, like finding those specific activities that's kind of a balance of both. That's not just because I think, yeah, when to your point, when people think about rest or receiving, that it's a bubble bath or it's lying on the couch or it's doing absolutely nothing, but that there's so many other ways of receiving that are also generative and active in their own
Mm.
way. What I'm hearing. Yeah. And when I think about receiving, the felt sense that I get is really about being available for something
Mm.
and being available to be touched, to be impacted, to be influenced. And I think this is work that we do with our clients. Like we're here and we're tuned and we're giving, we're also very much receiving them in the room. Like we're allowing ourselves to be impacted and yeah, to be like in an interaction with them. So as I'm talking about this, like I feel like there is something around and how we're defining receptivity is that it's just being available to something.
How vulnerable it is to say, oh, I'm going to like open up my heart, my body, my spirit, my energy to receive from somebody. You
Mm-hmm.
know, especially if we have histories of trust issues or abandonment or whatever it is that, you know, like a relational rupture, you know. So I do feel like, yeah, it is a very vulnerable thing to be on the other end of that. And I think I'll say for me, that's where a lot of my resistance to receiving in the past has come from is like a lack of trust with other people.
Mm-hmm.
If I open myself up to you,
Yeah.
can I depend on you to take care of me? Can I depend on you to really support me and or will you hurt me sort of thing? And
Right.
and
Yeah.
as you were also sharing, there's this piece around like the yin receiving divine feminine energy to me feels like in relationship or like an example of what it's like to be the child. When you're a child, you are receiving all the time from your caregivers. You are
Mm,
in presence with your toys, your food, whatever it is, you are open to receiving with your caregivers, usually, right? But
mm,
like me, I had little time for play because I was always in survival mode. My caregivers were untrustworthy for many certain things, so I felt like I had to be really self-reliant. So from like my own predisposition and my own childhood experience, like again, to receive and to open myself up to like parents
mm,
that weren't there to actually support me with the things that I needed, like I had to figure out myself. And I
mhm,
think as I'm tuning into that part, it's like, where can I become the child more in my adult life?
mhm.
Feels like a very powerful, um, like edge to lean into. Think about
Yeah.
play. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to go to the park. I need to go to the
Totally.
arcade, you know.
Yeah.
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 Man.
It feels like it's the child before the child had to learn how to
Mhm.
survive, right? So that natural child that just connected with everything and took everything in and felt all the sensations and saw all the colors and, felt all the textures. And yeah, there's something really sensory about that.
Mhm.
Like in the way that a child receives. It's so full-bodied and it's so sensory and it's so full of feeling and texture and sensation. And yeah, and I'm just thinking about all the ways that we as adults have drawn up all sorts of filters
Mm.
to detach ourselves from that kind of direct experience of the world. And not to say that, I think that some of those strategies are necessary, right? To prevent us from feeling overwhelmed by all of the data and information that's out there in the world. But I think that you're highlighting something really important, something that I think that so many of us in the healing space are trying to come back to and remember, is just how alive we feel as the child before we learn all the survival strategies. And I think that is what the ultimate receptivity is receiving our own aliveness and being in our own aliveness and fully taking our lives in and inhabiting them. um yeah, whatever life looks like, and having the capacity to really like hold all of those things. And so yeah, it's just making me think about sort of the ultimate form of receptivity is ownership over
Mhm.
our lives,
Mhm.
and like claiming our stories and claiming our experience and inhabiting our full experience, even if parts of it can be challenging and difficult to hold. So I even think there's something about developing capacity to receive hard, like hard stuff in lives, because there's, there's always going to be hard stuff and challenges and conflict that arise. But there's also something about like receiving them with equanimity too.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I'm just curious, are there things that you mentioned, things that you felt resistant to receiving? Are there other things that come up for you that are kind of like hard for you to take in still, or hard maybe
Yeah.
harder to receive?
I think we talked about this actually when it was like around my birthday. Like sometimes it can be hard to take in compliments, uh,
Mm,
and like hard to take in compliments because there's a part of me that like doesn't know if like someone's being genuine or not. But I think a lot of that comes from like my own thoughts about myself, you know? Um, and so it's just kind of like a mirror that I've noticed.
yeah.
And then it's like, well, I don't want to look at that mirror.
Yeah.
But I've been coming more connected to that. And like the other day actually at tea, I was with, a group of people and our tea teacher. And there was a moment where, oh my gosh, like the tea session was everything I needed and more. And there was a moment where I was feeling just really connected to myself. And I just started saying these affirmations to myself that I'll say every now and then when I'm like needing support. And it was just like, you are safe, you are whole, you are loved. And just like kind of repeating it back to me. And as I was doing it, I literally felt my heart open and just tears poured out of me. And what I've been practicing is like trying to just give myself the words or the validation or the security that I'm looking for in other people and just giving it to me. And it's not to
Mm,
say that I don't think that there's value in somebody sharing their sincere thoughts about how I've inspired them or how they love me, because like I think it's really important to support each other and to lift each other up. But how can I detach myself from relying on that so much to like build up my sense of confidence within myself or security within myself. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, just like these practices of giving myself and being open to receiving my own medicine.
Yeah.
I can, you know, draw on that medicine for so many other people, but what about the power to really receive my own? That's
Yeah.
really the ultimate practice. Yeah, the
Yeah.
more that I can receive, like practice receiving, the more that whoever I'm in support with, like they'll feel also that their safety to receive as well. Because I believe that when we're working with people, it's a shared nervous system, you know, that we create. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what came up for me.
Yeah. And I relate to that so much. I
Hmm.
totally have a bit of a barrier too when it comes to receiving compliments. And I don't think that it's an uncommon thing. I think a lot of people have the same issue. It's like if someone's giving you a compliment, and oftentimes when we're not able to take that in because we're doubting it or questioning it, is because we're sort of questioning the belief around it too.
Yeah.
It's like we're not in total belief around the worthiness of receiving the compliment, or it's like, of course I'm not going to believe what this person is saying if I don't believe that's true about myself.
Right.
Yeah. And so totally, that's something that I also work with myself, and and again, it comes back to how to let myself have that kind of nourishment, because it's nourishment, and somehow a part of us is keeping that nourishment out
Yeah.
because it's like suspicious of the care. Because to what you were saying, it's like, well, if I open myself up to this care, is it going to be taken away, or am
Mhm.
I going to be taken advantage of? Like there's a cost associated
Yeah.
with that. And I think so much of healing is about repairing that and rewiring that story, that we can receive care safely, but also even if there's a cost, that we can still stay with ourselves in that.
Hmm.
And one thing that's coming up for me too, particularly around compliments, is, and I'm wondering if this is something that you notice about yourself too, is that when someone offers a compliment, it's kind of like I want to run away from it, right? Like there's a there's a kind of neediness around it where it's like, okay, the compliment's here. What can I do to kind of like deflect it? Or what can I do to
Uh-huh.
get away from it? Like it's almost like I want to just run out of the spotlight and run away from it as quickly as possible. And and what I realized for me is that sense of speed is what's keeping me away from
Mm.
really able to take it in. And so something that I've started experimenting with is just giving myself time for the compliment to land and really slowing down in it. And that can be really uncomfortable too.
So, I'm
Even,
like, I'm
yeah,
sorry, I'm like having an experience right
right? Yeah.
now. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, it
So
reminds.
what you're having.
Well, it's like literally taking me back to our bonfire Sunday night. So, for those of you listening, Josh and I had a couple of our friends, Charlie and her partner Steven included, over for our bonfire night. And there was a moment where it sounds so funny. We were talking about like our like parasocial like crushes or inspirations or something like that.
Yeah.
And our friend, my friend and assistant, and whatever I would call our sister, Liv, she like looks me dead in the eye and she's like, "Well, are you ready to become like someone's like parasocial inspiration or crush?" Because like I'm expanding my business and trying to get, put myself out there a little bit more. And I felt so embarrassed. Like, and I felt that and I was like, what, after I was like reflecting on it, but I was like, I didn't want to like own that as a way for people to think that I think I'm like all that or something. There's like this part of me that was like I completely just like I was like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, or like I completely shut it down versus just being like, oh yeah, like yeah, how about that? Like really owning that invitation to like lean into that identity of personification that made me feel like, a little bit more expansive or something.
Mm.
Recognize my resistance to that because though you're all my friends and, my beloved is also right there, there was this part of me that felt like, well, if I own this in front of you all, will you just think I'm like, I don't know, stuck up or taking up too much space, or like there was just a very big fear around how others would judge me. And it's people that I love and I know like care about me, but still, um, you know, yeah, there was that fear there. And then I had to go back to like where does that come from? And it comes from, high school
Hmm.
wound. I would say as somebody that felt like I'm a person with gifts and with beauty and magic to share. Like I feel that at my true essence, but feeling really kind of shy about sharing that in front of people because I don't ever want people to get like the wrong idea about me or how I think
Yeah.
about. But yeah, it's just funny how that just came up for me, and particularly when we were together last Sunday.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is conditioning and the fear of being too much. And and I think it's that kind of dynamic is relational too. It's because I think the story behind that is, well, if I'm big, that's gonna scare you off.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be too much for you. And that's gonna be the reason why you leave me or you abandon this connection. And so it's very much a relational thing. And I think this is why it's so important to have people in your life that can basically hold that bigness with you. And and even as you were saying that, like my instinct was to say to you, Christine Marie, like, I see your bigness and that doesn't scare me off. And I want to
Mm.
stay connected with you even in your bigness. And so even just hearing that, I'm curious what you notice,
Yeah,
if
like
anything.
yeah, I think we've done this before actually, which is the ironic part. Here we are back again. Um,
Yeah.
there's a part of me that like feels your heart and can receive those words with um, I would say like a sense of peace and groundedness, but then I can notice my mind being like, well, is that dependable? Will that always be the case? Like
Right. Yeah.
there's this doubt of, well, what if that goes away? You know.
Yeah,
So,
totally. Like it wants that extra assurance and
so
it wants that extra assurance, but I think that also it's like it is protective. It wants to protect you from future heartbreak or future abandonment. And that's I think that's not wrong, you
mhm.
know? I think we all have those parts.
Yeah,
But
do you
yeah.
find like where do you see yourself even with friendships or people that you love and trust, like do you have trouble in that area as well? Like versus like a stranger telling you, "Oh, your hair looks so cute today," or "Wow, your energy is just on fire." Yeah, do
Yeah.
you feel that way with friends and trusted people in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it's similar in that, I get a lot of support from my friends, which I'm so grateful for. And sometimes I have a similar voice of skepticism
Mm,
of like, is what you're saying actually true? Or are you just saying this because you're my friend and you don't want to hurt my feelings and you're holding back the truth about
mm,
how you experience me, And so I definitely can speak to like a layer of skepticism that's
yeah.
there. of like not fully believing, not fully wanting to take in, right, what just the support and the resourcing and oftentimes the care and the validation that I
Mm,
get from my friends. But to your point, like I don't think that it's really about doubting or mistrusting my friends.
mm.
It really comes back to myself. And what I'm thinking about is I'm just feeling into this. Yeah, again, it goes back to, of course, I can't believe what they're saying because I don't know that I fully believe it myself. So no amount of compliment or validation is really going to make it through until I work on whatever is here in the way of believing that and
Mm.
allowing myself to believe that, which is so much of the healing journey that is a lifelong process. So, as I say that, like I'm in no rush, no urgency to fix that. I'm certainly aware of it, and I'm doing what I can to kind of tend to that mistrustful child part, right? And again, I keep going back to just letting myself slow down and letting giving a piece of validation or compliment to just really land, even if that like initial deflective impulse comes up of like I just want to swat this away. It's like let that happen and then see what happens,
Mm.
so like creating the extra space of once that deflective part has acted itself out, what's underneath that. And often what I find is an opening. So
Mm.
I do think slowing down, letting yourself take the time to, yeah, kind of even feel the compliment, not even just take in the words, but
Mhm.
feeling the way that it's delivered, feeling the authenticity in which it's being given, like that. Again, it's like coming back into the body. Like I'm not even thinking about the compliment, but how can I feel this from the other person and let that impact me, let that touch me in some way. And I think that is what receiving is.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
definitely. And this is where I feel like it's so important to be someone. I mean, it's like be authentic, right? Be genuine. Actually, like share how you feel and give a compliment if you really are feeling like it's at your heart and you're thinking
Yeah.
about keeping it away. Like share it. And the reason being is I just think that like although yes, I believe that we're here to like self-validate ourselves, self-celebrate ourselves, it does help have those relational repairs when, like, yeah, when other people that you love or trust, or even like a stranger on the street can like really like point something out about you that maybe you're not even aware of, or maybe you didn't even recognize within yourself. It's just like these little seeds of kindness that I think can go such a long way. And even if your
Yeah.
seed of kindness doesn't land fully, well, at least that person is carrying that seed and can look at it with curious eyes and
Mhm.
deepen into it more, and so yeah, I just think it can go a long way. I
Totally.
think spreading our truth in a way that can really land in people's hearts is a powerful thing in these times specifically too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing that it's just coming up for me about you brought this up earlier, but play. Like I even think that there's something in, let's just take the compliment example, and you're receiving a piece of validation, even if you're not able to fully take it in. I think there is something about, well, what if I just played around with this? Even if I'm thinking, well, maybe there's some truth to that, or maybe this person's just saying that because they're trying to be nice and it's not fully genuine. I think there's still something in like, let's just play with that statement. Like it's here, it can be near here. Let's play it. Let's try it on. Even if it's true, even if it's not true, like what shifts as I get into that place of let's play around with whether with maybe the possibility that this is actually true, and
Yeah.
try that on with eyes and just notice what happens, right? And so that, you know, again, it's like we don't need to, I just really stay away from fixing. Like, I think healing is not about fixing. And the more I'm on this journey, the more I do feel like it's really about playing. And to your point, like just playing like a natural child would. And then just notice what changes, notice what shifts, and go with what feels good. Go with what feels better, right? And so anyway, that's the random thought that came up for me as I was hearing you say that last piece.
Yeah, totally. I know.
Yeah.
I'll just speak on one last thing and we'll close the conversation for today. But I think sometimes for me, I'm like, well, how do I play? What would actually feel like play? You know, and the one thing I was like, do dancing always. Whenever I put on a song and I'm dancing, whether by myself or with a group of people, it's always playful.
Yeah.
That's how I'm gonna receive
Cool.
this weekend. Yeah.
And just for me too, it's just being silly and not things so silly, which is hard to do for Scorpio.
Very hard to do for a Scorpio. It's very hard to do for a Pisces. We're living in the
Yeah.
existentialism shadow.
I mean, I feel like in our friendship, our best moments have been spent in total silliness and just being goofy. So for me, I think play, being silly, being goofy, it's the medicine of not taking it all so seriously.
Yeah.
And when I think about the energy of that, that's what opens you up. And then you're open. And then you're taking things in more easily. You're out of the way, you know? And so, yeah, maybe there's an interesting connection there, thread there of, you know, injecting levity, goofiness, silliness as a way to get into that energy of receptivity too.
Totally. Well, always a rich conversation as always. You never know what's going to open up, and here we are.
Yeah.
Speaking of receiving, I would love to ask, like, what is it that you're offering right now? If somebody would want to receive your support right now, what are you offering, and what's a way that they can connect with you?
Yeah, so a couple different ways to work with me. If you're feeling like you're in the midst of pivotal change or in a period of uncertainty or transition, I offer intuitive readings. And so just feeling into the energy of your current circumstances, connecting with your higher self, your guides, and just pulling in whatever I'm getting, whatever I'm feeling, seeing, sensing, as a way to spark a conversation that gets you into your body and into your intuition, and just building space for insight to emerge. So there's that. And then there's also a more somatic emphasis where there's still a little bit of intuitive energy attunement there, but mostly it's about pulling you into contact with your body through mindfulness. So through just paying attention to what's going on inside, and just following the thread of your soul and your body, and using your own voice to guide your own transformation, because the belief at the center of it all is that we really truly do have all of the answers within, and we just need to slow down enough to kind of clear through the brush to find the clarity and the presence that is already there inside. So those are my two things. Yeah.
Find you?
They can find me on my website, tothekeep.co, on my Instagram, Charlie Zheng, and then there's more info there when you get there, email and all of that. What about you? Any new offerings or anything that you want to share?
I'm opening up enrollment for Earth and Energy Medicine School for the fall cohort already. This is for anybody that feels like they have something missing within their healing artistry, whether they're a devoted student to the healing arts or already practicing in some capacity, whether it's in healthcare, therapy, or any other modality that's bringing healing forward. If you're wanting to find your authentic medicine and step more into sharing that, I'm taking on interviews and applications right now, so you can find the info out on my website, as well as I'm opening up space this summer for plant devotionals. So I have 2 spots open. If you feel like you would like to learn the language of a certain plant spirit that's here to support you and bring healing and guidance and wisdom to you in this way, I work with a series of plants like rose and psilocybin and cacao, tobacco, a couple different ones that might be supportive for you if you're moving through grief, if you're moving through ancestral trauma. We'll pick a plant that really speaks to you and what you're moving through, and then we'll work for a series together with you consuming the plant and us doing some healing work together. And if you haven't done a healing session with me, I'm opening up introductory healing sessions. So if you want to, you can also find that out online or email me, ChristineMarieHeals.com, ChristineMarieHeals@gmail.com, very easy. But yeah, so I'm excited, and if there's anything that you feel like you have questions about or want to share, just reach out to Charlie or I and comment on this thread. We'd love to hear from you, and thanks for spending 40 minutes of your time with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Mwah.